Is there some kind of fishing technique that you just don't like to do? You just don't like to do it at all? Good morning, guys and girls. June the 11th. June the 11th. What an incredible day in my life June 11th was. June 11th, one day, several years ago. I'm not going to tell you exactly how many years ago. I took on the most important job in the world. That's right, the most important job, the job of being a father, of being a dad. Because on June 11th, several years ago, my daughter Sherry was born. And I have the most amazing kids. I'm like just about everybody. My kids are the greatest kids in the world. And Jamie came along about 6 years later, and he's just a phenomenal kid also. But I just want to wish happy birthday to my daughter Sherry. You know, the kids have worked in the business all of their life. They've nearly never worked for anyone other than Jimmy Houston Outdoors. And they started working in business when they were like 8 or 9 years old. And we had them doing important things. We did a lot of mail order, which we eventually sold that mail order business to Johnny Morris at Bass Pro Shop. But we did a lot of mail order. We had them filling mail orders, packing boxes, working out shipping slips, and doing all kinds of things. It was important things. There were things that an 8 or 9 or 10-year-old could do once you taught them how to do it, but they were important things to do. We didn't have them doing menial tasks that were unimportant. But what they learned during all of that, they learned about business. They learned about doing things correctly. They learned about responsibility. And most importantly, they learned where the money come from that put food on the table, that bought their clothing, that paid for, you know, whatever we did. And we were like all kids. we were certainly a long way from being wealthy. But Chris worked 80 or 100 hours a week. I worked 80 or 100 hours a week, and we got by pretty well. And we couldn't afford kids, but we had them anyway. And I know that just about everybody out there can identify with that. But we tried to be the best parents we could be, and I don't know if we've done that all along, but we certainly have raised the best kids that I can ever imagine. My wife says that Sherry is just an extension of her. She's like another set of arms that she has, because no matter what kind of project we have going, Sherry gets involved in it in a big way. Jamie gets involved with it in a big way, and both of them still work in the business. Jamie runs our Tracker boat store and our Kawasaki dealership. Sherry runs our Subway store and our my hands on my personal schedule, runs our books, does all our billing, and just, you know, the kids just do whatever needs to be done in our business. They always have, and I guess always will. I don't think they'll change now. We actually have another sort of son that we have, Richard, and we've talked about him quite a bit. Richard runs our retail store. We actually raised Richard ever since he was about 3 weeks old, so he's of course an adult now, and he's sort of just another son. He's just like another son. And so happy birthday, Sherry. Happy birthday, Sherry. Okay, let's look and see what we have down here. We're going to be looking in the book of Romans, and the man that said this right here is Paul. Paul wrote the book of Romans. Paul, the Apostle Paul, his name was changed to Paul from Saul, wrote most of the New Testament. So most of what you read in the New Testament, some of you I know go to New Testament churches, and that's all you study is the New Testament. So you're studying the writings of Paul. Here's something Paul said that's just an amazing thing that in Romans 7:15, he said, I do not do what I want to do. I do not do what I want to do. I do the things that I hate. Well, what's he talking about? He's talking about sinning. The sins that he hates, he goes ahead and does them anyway. And we can all identify with that. There are things that we hate that we ourselves do. Sometimes we do them on a daily basis. And thankfully, we've got a God that covers that. But let me see what I wrote about that right there, because that's really a big statement right there. I do not do what I want to do, but I do the things that I hate. All right, here's our devotional on that. To me, Carolina rig worm fishing is about as close as you could get to not going fishing at all. That's right. Yeah, fishing a Carolina rig, about as close as you can get to not going fishing at all. For those of you who are not familiar with the Carolina rig is where you have a big sinker, maybe 3/4 ounce or an ounce. You can have smaller ones too and use smaller Carolina rigs, but you normally have a big sinker, 3/4 ounce or so, and it's tied to a swivel, and you got a little bead or two there, and a little click, maybe something to make noise and make sinker click against it. And then to that swivel, you have a line that might be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 8 foot long, and you got a plastic worm or some sort of soft plastic back here behind it, and you drag. It's called a dragging technique. You're not working that bait, you're not working the lure, you're dragging that bait. Little airplane flying around, cool. And you're dragging that weight up on the bottom. And one of the reasons it's very good technique to do is that weight that's dragging on the bottom is kicking up dust and silt and stuff, and it kind of gets a fish's attention, and all of a sudden there's a plastic worm or something back behind it for them to eat. So it's a really, really great technique. However, to me, and that's what I said right here, tremendous technique, it really catches fish. In addition, it's really simple to learn and it's easy to do. But for me, it's a little like watching lily pad flowers open. I don't know if you've ever done that, but you better have some patience because they don't just pop right open. It takes a while for a lily pad flower to open. Once they open, they're pretty nice to look at. Paul complained in Romans that he continued sins and he committed sins that he hated. We're probably the most guilty of this in close personal relationships, such as with our family and our close friends. We do it a lot with our family. We seem to treat those we love the most with the most disrespect, the most anger, and the least compassion and affection. The people we love the most see the worst of us. They see us when we absolutely, totally lose it, and we've all been there. My grandkids, when they were little, used to say, hey, if Granddad's mad at you, just go up and ask him for his autograph. He's really nice to everybody that asks for his autograph. And that's true. You know, I got to admit, that's a fault that I have. I have something happen or get a telephone call or have something happen in my life that's just terrible. And somebody come up and ask for an autograph, and I always, I'm nice to them. I treat them with great respect. And they don't see the anger. They don't see anything that's boiling up inside of me. Whereas with the family, you let it all hang out. You let it all hang out. So here's what I want you to think about, want you to do. The last paragraph of this is very, very important. Because listen, guys and girls, we're all guilty of this right here. There's no doubt about it. I do not do what I want to do. I do the things that I hate. So when something goes wrong today, bite your tongue, swallow your pride, and speak words of love and encouragement instead of harsh or ugly words. So when you have that opportunity, and you will, when you have that reason to say something a little nasty or a little wrong, pause for just a minute, bite your tongue, and instead speak words of love and encouragement instead of those harsh words or ugly words. Very, very important. It will absolutely change your day. You know, I've been married to my first wife for well over 50 years. And one of the greatest things that I've learned in that marriage, and I've learned a lot, believe me, guys. Some of you out there been married as long as I have. Some of you just getting started on this marriage game. It's not an easy game to play, guys, I'm telling you. But one of the things that I've learned, so many times I start to say something and I don't. Now, I might not add those words of love. I might not add those words of love and encouragement when I really should. But there's a lot of things I start to say, and I thought, it's not going to give me anything to say that. So I just don't say them. But instead of just swallowing your pride, biting your tongue, and not saying anything at all, speak words of love and encouragement instead of harsh or ugly words. It'll make a tremendous amount of difference in your day. It'll make a tremendous amount of difference in your marriage. It'll make a tremendous amount of difference in your relationships. This is a big, big deal, this verse right here. I do not do what I want to do. I do the things that I hate. All right, let's look at our tip. We got a tip going on here this is a really good one, and this is one of the very few places, you know, in the Catch of the Day book, and this book I wrote several years ago, and you can order it from us. I'll personalize and autograph it for you if you want. But this book is Catch of the Day. It's got a devotional and a fishing tip and a scripture for every single day. There are very few mistakes in this book. Nelson Publishing published this book. I can't get them to do another one, but They published this book, and they just did a remarkable job. It's an incredibly great book, and we still sell, thousands of them. But this is one of the mistakes they made, and the tip says slow a worm, and that means it should say slow swim, or it should maybe just say swim. Swim a worm with a 1/8 or a 1/16 ounce weight over grass beds. So if you've got grass to fish in, swim a worm as opposed to working in a conventional, letting it fall, raising it, letting it fall, raising it, letting it fall. Swim it. My grandson Lightning turned into a really dynamite fisherman. He's 13 years old, and one of the things that he does with a plastic worm is he swims it a lot. Now, he works it like we all work a worm. We've taught him how to do all that. He's 13 years old. He's become a pretty good fisherman, but he swims that worm a lot. And just about all the worms that we have nowadays, I know almost every single worm that Lucky Strike makes swims really good. It's got a tail on it that has, some of them's got big, long, curly tails or ripple tails, so they really got great action. Looks like a snake swimming through the water. Just about any of the worms we have, you can swim. So put a very small weight, 16th ounce or an 1/8 ounce, throw that bait out there. Instead of letting it fall all the way to the bottom, just swim it back over the top of grass, swim it over the top of brush piles, swim it down beside boat docks. In other words, instead of, the typical thing on a plastic worm is they bite it on the fall. And if you're throwing it out there and let it go to the bottom, raise it up, let it fall, they're going to bite it almost 100% of the time on the fall. But go ahead and swim that worm. Here's something else you might want to think about. And if you throw out there and you're swimming, and you say you're fishing a corner of a boat dock or a stump or a junction area on a log or something like that, and you fish that junction area, after you've dropped it down in there, moved it, dropped it, picked it up, instead of just winding it back real fast, try to swim it away from there, maybe 2 or 3 foot away from that structure. And a lot of times that bass will swim out there and grab it and give you an extra bass or two throughout the day. You don't need to swim it all the way back to the boat normally, because you want to get it back and get it back to another piece of structure. But try swimming that worm. It'll catch you a few more fish. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today. Remember, I love you.